And
Here we
we're
are.
back. Here we are for another episode. How crazy is that?
Back again for the first time. Folks, I am Sez, he is Mosh, and today we're going to be talking about a bevy of different things. Friendships and professional wrestling. We're going to be talking about your personal experiences, Chaz, with legends or veterans. And you have one hell of a story that you told me off the air a couple of weeks ago that just has to be told here on the show. And finally, on January 6, 2025, Raw is moving to Netflix. And we're going to be talking about the changes, the ripple effect, the consequences that is going to have on the business.
Yes. So friends and friendships within the business. I'm going to equate it. It's not much different than having a regular job. And what do I mean by that? If you're at a regular job, you have some people that you become really close with, you become friends with, you hang out with after work, or you want to hang out with after work, whether it's male or female, or you know what I'm saying. So it's the same thing. You have these certain relationships that take off and you get real personal with them. And then you have other relationships where there's not really a relationship. It's more of a working relationship because you have to work with them. So you're professional, you're courteous, you're cordial, and because you have to work with them and you have to be nice with them. But it's not somebody you're going to go call and have a drink with afterwards. So you have it's the same thing in the locker room. You have guys that you get along with, that you're super close with, that you joke around with, you hang out with, after shows, and even if there's not a show, like you're communicating with on days off. And then you have other people, when you see them, you say hi to them, hey, how's it going? You have small talk, and you just go your way. And then what happens is you leave that job, and wrestling's the same way. It's kind of like if you leave a job, you kind of stay in contact, that close-knit crew you had or really close friends you had, you kind of stay in contact with them for a while, but then because you don't see them every day and you're doing different things and they're doing different things, it kind of fizzles out. And then you have one, two, maybe three of them that it just never fizzles out, that you're always in contact with, that you're always talk to. So it's kind of that. And now social media has obviously changed everything because you're able to stay in touch with people and see what they're doing. And then, for the great part for what we do in the wrestling world, is having the conventions and being able to go back and see these guys. But then you've seen what they've been doing on social media. So it's automatic connection to talk. It's almost like you saw them last week and you're able to keep in touch with them that way. So it's the same as any other job. It's just different because we're on the road and we're on TV. So for me personally, the people I've stayed in touch with the most since leaving, full time is, obviously Glenn. D'Lo and I still talk quite often.
Nice.
Pete Gas and I talk quite often. Devon and I, Dudley, we text quite often back and forth. Billy Gunn, him and I will text back and forth every now and then. Or if I'm in the area, we try to get together. But that's probably like the core group that I stay in touch with. And all the other ones, it's like when you see, well, Papa, Godfather, him and I'll text him something every now and then, or we go back and forth. Henry, Phineas, the Godwins, we're those, what are they called? The real buddies. We send reels back and forth. Henry and I every day, one of us is sending the other one some kind of silly, stupid reel. So again, social media has made it easier to stay in touch. But in the wrestling world, it's the same thing as regular world. You have a group you're friendly with. You have a group where they're okay with it. And then you have a group where you just can't stand, but you got to work with them. But you just don't fight in the workplace. So it's kind of the same as anywhere else.
See, it's so funny to hear you say that, because the big reason I wanted to talk about that topic is because a lot of people compare it to being the opposite of a regular job, because in so many cases, guys are actively vying for each other's spot, or, the paranoia of wrestling and the untrustworthiness. And I know I can speak from experience. Years ago, my circle was enormous. I was one of these guys that wanted to have everyone around. And I was, the gag was I was the human ATM. Oh, we're at the bar. Simon's covering all the drinks tonight. We're all going to have a blast. And I was promoting my own shows with Vintage, which you worked a couple of them. And as soon as all that stopped, the fair weather friends disappeared and went away. You warned me that it would happen. Frankie warned me that it would happen, and it did. And right now, as of this recording, my circle has never been smaller than it ever has been. And it bothered me for a while. Like, what happened to all my, and it wasn't until I talked to somebody 2 days ago, actually, that told me this is how it should be. The less people you have, the more valuable it is. It's not, it's quality over quantity, which is.
Yeah, it's funny because when you're, and I see this all the time now, like Facebook and reels and like pictures and posts and stuff like that. And getting older in life, you realize just what you said, quality over quantity. But when you're younger, you want all of these friends. You want everyone to like you. You want everyone to love you. You want to get along with everybody. Even if you really don't like them, you want to pretend you do. And then as you get older, you're like, I ain't got time for that shit. Like,
it's exhausting.
Like the lady says, ain't nobody got time for that. That's the thing. And you and I were texting earlier today when you were like, oh my God, my circle's the smallest it's ever been. I'm like, that's perfect. It's the way you want it to be. Because you don't want the leeches. You don't want them. You want to get rid of all that. You just don't want the drama. You don't want the bullshit and drama that comes. I've separated myself from people only because every time I talk to them, somehow drama comes into my life. And I don't want
small violin.
Yeah. Not even that. I mean, it actually, not even me sitting there going, oh my God, here we go. I got to listen to this bullshit. But actual drama happens to me. I live a drama-free life. I don't like drama. I don't want it. I avoid it at all costs. I want to get up in the morning, live my life, do my thing, play with the dog, go camping, do my work, do what I have to do. Like, everyone's got problems and issues. If you need help with something, I'll help you. But don't make, what is it? What's the saying? It's your monkey, not mine. I don't need your monkey. Like, yeah. I don't want it. So yeah, so it gets smaller and smaller and tighter, and it makes it better and better, I think.
Yeah. And then there's also, Chaz, I was going to ask, you listed some of your closest friends. There has to be also a level or a separate group of people you don't talk to, you don't keep in contact. It's not an every day or every week how you've been, but the second you see them, it's like no time has passed at all, and you guys pick up right where you left off. Do you have any like that?
I have a couple. I have one specific I'll tell you about. My best friend from 8th grade. We've been best friends since like 8th grade. And we went to different high schools, but we were brought together through a thing we did in Philly called the Mummers Parade String Band. And we became great friends through that, stayed great friends through high school. He was in my wedding. I was in his wedding. Like, our kids his oldest daughter and Tyler had the same birthday. They're just 1 year apart. But whenever we don't talk hardly ever, but we'll text back and forth. For instance, I'm going up to do Tommy Fierro's having Glenn and I in December go up December 21st at his store. We're doing an appearance, which is in North Jersey. I already reached out to Mike going, hey, I'm going to be up in Jersey. I have an appearance from 2 to 5. After that, I'm free, and I fly out on Sunday. I'm like, I'm going to be staying right around Newark. He goes, great, let me know where you are, and I'll find you. We'll come get together and hang out.
See, that's awesome.
I have that. He's probably the one person to give the best example of that when we get together, it's like we just saw each other last week.
That's awesome.
He would be the one. It's amazing. Yes.
See, that is, again, through talking to you, it's so invaluable, to have people you can actually count on, to have, like a positive support system as opposed to a plentiful support system. But from that, I know you have got to be the chillest person I know. I've told you that before. Like, no drama, no issues, but you have had negative experiences in your life. You just don't harp on them. And I wanted to chat today on the show about any potential negative, unpleasant, less than stellar encounters, experiences, interactions you may have had with legends while in the business. And you have one particular one with not only a WWE Hall of Famer, but someone that should be a sports Hall of Famer. And I love this story.
He should be in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but he's an asshole, which is why he will never be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's the reason, by the way, not for anything else, because
it's called karma. And karma is just like just like just like time and the internet. Karma is undefeated. There are three things in the world that are undefeated and will always be undefeated. The internet always wins, karma always wins, and Father Time always wins.
Uh,
Yeah. So my interesting story, and this actually helped me try to treat wrestling fans when they would approach me in a different way because of this interaction. I was going to say altercation, but it wasn't an altercation, it was just an interaction.
it was an altercation within you.
Oh, there was a big conflict going on inside me.
Wait, are you going to say who it is?
Which is part of the story. So the story
are you gonna say who it is?
Yeah, I'm going to say it right now.
Okay.
So it was WrestleMania 14 in Boston. It's Pete Rose.
This is so good.
He is my all-time, I say was, but when I was a kid, he was my all-time favorite baseball player. I mean, I played baseball like him. I wanted to be, being my name and his nickname being Charlie Hustle, and being my growing up, I was called Charlie. So I was like, oh, I'm Charlie Hustle. Like that was kind of, I used that name when I was playing baseball. Love baseball. I would slide into head first every single base, slide into home plate. I got kicked out of little league games for sliding head first in the bases because you weren't supposed to slide head first in the bases. You weren't allowed to. I got down in a little crouch like he did when I was batting. Like I tried to mimic everything I possibly could. So WrestleMania 14 in Boston, Pete Rose is going to be there. I'm jacked. This is my second WrestleMania. So yeah, I'm excited because it's WrestleMania, but I was more jacked and excited because I'm going to have a chance to meet Pete Rose.
Oh, this is so sad.
So rewind a little bit. When I threw out the first pitch of the Phillies game in September of '97, when Glenn and I were tag champs, Pete Rose Jr. was on the Cincinnati Reds at the time. He came out of the dugout and I got to talk to him. He actually took off his batting gloves and signed them. I still have those. He took his batting gloves off, signed them. So him and I created a little bit of a relationship or a friendship. It didn't last very long because just scheduling and stuff like that. But we texted, I think we emailed back then. I don't know. But like he would be in a place and I'd reach out to him, we try to get together a couple times. So now here we go, whatever WrestleMania 14 was, March, April. There's a long line into his locker room because guys were all taking pictures. I literally sat outside waiting for everyone to go. I wanted to be the last person to take a picture with him.
Well, so some of the other boys were big fans too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So when a celebrity would come into the locker room, everybody wanted a picture with them. So you hung out, and the celebrity knew, they would go up to him and say, hey, we got guys who want to take pictures. And, they'd either come out in the hallway or they'd stay in their locker room. And, one by one, you'd go in, you say, hey, how you doing? Take a picture, boom, and out the door you went. I wanted to have an interaction with him, like a real conversation with him. So, and our photographers at the time were amazing because the pictures of me walking up to him, you could see the excitement in my face. Like I was like a little kid, like my eyes were all like starry. I was all glazed. Like I was so excited you could see it. And I start the conversation off with, you are my favorite baseball player of all time. And the same story, how I got kicked out of little league games for sliding head first. And I played like you and I did this and blah, blah. I went on the whole rant. And he looks at me, he goes, why would you do that if you know you're going to get kicked out of a baseball game? And I went, well, because I wanted to be you. Like, I'm talking 10, 12 years old. Like, I wanted to be you. Like, that's how I wanted to play the game. That's how I wanted to play the game how you did. He's like, yeah, but that's dumb if you know you're going to get kicked out of a game. And I went, okay. And then I stopped and I was like, so I said, my grandparents had season tickets to the Phillies. They had every Sunday game. So not every game, I said, but a lot of Sundays I would sit with them right behind first base. I said, so like I was like right there, like I could watch you play. And, I went on this whole little rant about it. And he looks at me, he goes, did you ever get hit by a ball? I went, no. Like, why would I get hit by a ball? And he goes, well, that just proves, I guess I did my job, didn't I? And I'm like, yeah, but you and first baseman on the other team did his job too then if I didn't get hit by a ball.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, now my wheels are going. And I'm like, here goes that altercation inside me going, what the is going on right now?
Yeah.
So then it dawned on me and I went, oh, I go, hold on. I go, I met Pete Jr. I said, I threw out the first pitch at the Phillies game back in September. I said, and Pete Jr. was there. And I said, he came out and he talked to me. He goes, looks at me. He goes, oh, he goes, you're the wrestler that Pete Jr. talks about all the time. And I was like, yes, that's me. And I was like, so excited. I'm like, I'm in. Here we go. Like, fuck yeah. I'm like, yeah. So Pete Jr., we've hung out. I'm like, we met in Puerto Rico one time. We hung out over the weekend. And he stops me and he goes, that's great. He goes, are you the last one or is there anyone else after you that needs to take a picture? And I went,
dude, that sucks so hard.
I didn't even say anything to him. I just put my head down and I walked away. And as I said, I had pictures of me walking up so excited to meet him. The pictures of me walking away, I literally walked outside and they had the big bins. The big bins are out in the hallway with all the equipment and stuff in. And I just sat on the bin like this.
Oh my God.
Cornette walks by me and he goes, Chad, you all right? Looks like your dog just died. And I'm like, think more than my dog just died, Jim. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So now I'm sitting there and
wait, did you tell Corny what happened?
No, I didn't even bother. I was just like, at that point I didn't want to talk about it. Because again, I literally walked. Imagine walking out of like your bedroom, taking like 5 or 6 steps to your left, and then just sitting. So like that's how close I still was to his locker room. So last thing I want to do was start bashing him when he could hear me, even though who cares? Like I should have done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then about an hour later, I'm walking around and I was just, you get TV's a long day. You're there at 1 o'clock, noon, 1 o'clock, pay-per-view's not till 8 or whatever. So again, I was just sitting on another crate and I still was just like blown away by this. And the door in front of me, I didn't realize it, was Mike Tyson's door. It was his locker room. Tyson did the refereeing for Sean and Steve. Tyson opens the door. He peeks his head out and he was looking for something. He looks directly in the eye and he says, hey, are you waiting for me? And I was like, no. I said, I'm just sitting here. I said, I'm just hanging out. I said, no, because I missed the window to get the picture with him.
Oh.
So I was like, no. I said, I'm just hanging out. So he's like, he opens the door a little bit. He turns around and he yells into everybody, hey, I'll be back in a minute. And when I looked through the door, Sean, Steve, Vince, and Tyson's whole crew was sitting around a table talking about the match. Tyson walks out, closes the door, sits down on the bin next to me. We have a 25-minute conversation. It was like 25 minutes of just whatever. I mean, it was just natural, like normal conversation. And then he's like, oh, shit. He goes, I guess I should get back in there. He goes,
yeah,
wondering what I'm doing. And I'm like, yeah. And I go, hold on a minute, though, because the photographer was coming around the corner. And I'm like, can I get a picture with you now that you're here? So I have a picture of him, like us shaking hands in the hallway. And I said, great. I said, before you open the door, let me leave. So when you open the door, they don't see me standing here.
Could you imagine? If you had seen you were the reason.
Right, I know. It's already bad enough at that pay-per-view. Glenn and I were NWA World Tag Team Champions, and he left his belt at home.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's a different story in a second. I'll tell you that story in a quick second. So think about this. Think about this. Pete Rose, who's like a beloved baseball player. You have Mike Tyson over here, who is just fucking badass, like the baddest guy in the world, who's got an attitude. It looks like doesn't want to talk to him. He looks like he would just kill you in 2 seconds, which he could have if he wanted to. You have this guy over here who's supposed to be like a beloved person, total fucking asshole. Then you got this guy over here who's the nicest person in the world. You'd think it would have been the opposite, right?
That's amazing, dude. Look, I don't mean to laugh at your pain, Chaz, that story will never not be funny to me because I picture, I don't know if you watched the show Arrested Development, but I picture you walking away like the kid with your shoulders drooped down.
Exactly.
You have to send me some of those pictures. I need to see the gleam in your eye. And my story is negative only because of me, but I have a picture to my right here of WrestleMania in Dallas 2 years ago, where I met the Undertaker. A bunch of my trivia players paid for my ticket to go. They know that I am obsessed with Steve Austin, so he was coming out of retirement, all that jazz. They know I love the Undertaker. They pooled together and they bought me the meet and greet with Taker, all that jazz. It was 3 hours I waited in line, right? And I'm with a bunch of my other buddies that are like, oh, Sez is so excited. They're like taking video of me saying, Simon, how do you feel right now? And I'm cutting these long-winded diatribes about this is a pinnacle, jokingly being like the best talker in Florida is gonna meet, the legendary Undertaker, and I'm gonna give him what to. The entire time, Chaz, I'm in line. I'm thinking, all right, it's a very small window. I have to make this meaningful. In my infinite vocabulary and my expansive lexicon, how can I condense this into saying something that's going to impact him? So the closer we get, I see, oh shoot, it's like a 30 seconds, wham bam, Bob's your uncle, go.
Right.
So I'm like, all right. When I walk up, I'll shake his hand and I'll say, Mr. Taker, I'm a professional wrestler too, and I wanted to say you're one of my biggest influences. Thank you so much for all you've done. All the sacrifices I've made, even though I know I'll never make it to your level, are worth it, right?
I can't wait to hear this.
The person in front of me goes. Then they call. All right, next. I come up. He sticks his hand out. He goes, "Hey, nice to meet you." And I go, "I love you." It just came out. It just came out of my mouth. I go, "I love you," and he ignores it, right? So I'm shaking his hand. And he says, "Thank you so much, man." And I go, "I love you," 2 times. They go, "All right, over here for the picture." I turn as I'm looking at the camera. I'm not even looking at Taker. I go, "I love you." That's 3 times. He goes, "Thanks, man. I love you. I love you too." They send me on my way. Right at the exit of the place, I finally think to myself, hey, tell him you're into business and that he had a big influence on you. I turn around like a complete mook and say, "I wrestle too." And he gives me this nod like this poor special needs person, like, "All right, buddy, good luck."
The trifecta there would have been if you asked him if he had any books to read.
Oh, come on. Hey, Taker, do you like books? Someday I'll tell that story on here, but man.
You like books? Oh, that's classic.
That's classic. Freaking 3 times. I had this big speech, and the only words that came out of my mouth were, "I love you." And if you see the picture I have on my wall, it's not even the professional photographer one. It's the one someone took on their cell phone of me walking up, where I have this stupid, dreamy, pudgy face, like awestruck smile on my face, where Taker's like all serious, shaking his hand, and I'm like, and that was the first "I love you." And then I hit him twice. And then without even looking at him, I said it a 3rd time. And then I managed to blurt out, "I wrestle too," on my way out.
Yeah, sure you do, kid. Where's your helmet at? You're out without your helmet today, kid?
Yeah. Somebody come get this boy his earmuffs. Yeah, that was me.
That's great. Let me backtrack and finish the other story then, since I somehow brought that up. That's classic. That may be better than my Pete Rose story.
No, the Pete Rose story is so epically sad, especially with the Mike Tyson part on top of it, knowing he was sitting with Vince and the guys in the main event.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, the main event of WrestleMania, and it said he's in the hallway talking to me for 20 minutes. So WrestleMania 14, Glenn and I were NWA World Tag Team Champions. And we had to fly up early because they were we flew up Friday morning. They did like an outside thing in Boston.
Oh, the workout, the public workout.
Yeah, but they had matches.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a match. And we get in the locker room and we're getting dressed. And Glenn goes, "Oh, shit." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I don't have my belt." I go, It's fucking WrestleMania. How do you not have your belts? Like, you do the meet and greet, so you carry your belt with you. So here we are as World Tag Team Champ. Again, it's NWA, but still, the NWA was a big angle they were doing at the time. And so here we are, and we're walking out. We only have one belt. Glenn's like, "Well, we can each hold one side of it." I go,
Oh
"No, my fucking belt. I am not saying I don't have my belt. Like, how do you not show up with your belt?" So he had to get Tracy, his ex-wife, who was with at the time, obviously. When she flew up like Saturday, she had to bring the belt. So of course it gets all around.
That's amazing.
Glenn didn't bring his belt.
That's amazing.
We were in the tag team battle royal. They did this big tag team battle royal to get like a title shot. So I don't remember how many teams were in it. Say there were 10 teams. Like, we were scheduled to be like one of the last 2 or 3 tag teams in this battle royal. Next thing you know, we're eliminated first.
Wow.
Literally, you get in the ring at WrestleMania and boom, you get in the ring and you're just tossed out. We're gone. So that's on the pay-per-view. And then Monday Night Raw comes, and again, we're in this NWA angle with Cornette, and that's when they just brought in the new Midnight Express, Bob and Bart, Bodacious Bart, and whatever our names were. Yeah, so we're supposed to run this angle. Next night on Raw, we dropped the belts.
Jesus.
It's like,
if that is not the most Glenn thing to do, yeah, I don't know what is.
How do you forget your belts? Like, the funny part about it was we were, again, NWA World Tag Team Champs, but you're going through the airport, and you go through security at the airport so many times, you start to recognize the TSA guys. We're in and out every week or 2 or 3 times a week, whatever it was. But you start to recognize them. And then they're like, they open the bag because, those things always sent the belts always set the thing off.
Yep.
Or they just wanted to see the belts. But they would open it up and they're like, "We thought you guys were at WWF." We're like, "We are, but we're doing this angle, NWA angle, blah, blah, blah." And then you don't bring it. Like, how do you not bring the belt when we're in the middle of this angle? And then, yeah, we dropped the belts, and then all of a sudden we were out of the storyline, we were out of the angle, we're out of all of it. It's fucking terrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Chazzer, we're just about at the 30-minute mark. So, but you in your masterful, not even purposeful planning, you set us up perfectly, because we don't just fly by the seat of our pants all the time. We try to have a game plan. And on next week's episode, we're going to talk about the exact same thing you just mentioned in your story. Titles, belts, championships, the importance of them, the unimportance of them, guys that needed it versus guys that didn't, and whether it elevates the performer each time or the instances where the performer elevates the championship.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about January 6th is quickly approaching, gang. That is Raw's move to Netflix. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a hefty change before this that Chaz was there for. The move from pay-per-view to streaming and how it affected the business, how it affected Chaz's business financially, and so much more. Guys, he is Mosh. I am Sez. We want to thank everybody who voted for Chaz, the shirts, the signed action figures, everything. It has been a hell of a month, and we're almost through to the end of the race that has been 2024. Chaz, I am pumped for next week.
It'll be a good time, good conversation. Yeah. So listen, if you go to here, subscribe. If you're listening to this, go to Facebook, subscribe to our
page,
Facebook
the Mosh Sez Show. It'll be shared on both our social medias. We're just putting the final bells and whistles on it. We'll be sharing all our content, exclusive pictures, some polls, so much more. Tell your friends, tell your family, freaking tell your friends' family. Hit the like button.
And walk through Walmart and just tell everybody. So you don't have to
everybody.
Friends, just tell everybody and anybody.
Everybody, every face you see, tell them go to the Mosh Sez Show podcast page and hit the like button, share it. Chaz, I'm pumped for next week. You found an awesome interview with Eddie Guerrero where he talks about the championship subject, and I can't wait.
I got to find it now. So now the pressure's on to find it again.
That's it. On the clock.
All right. So we'll see you guys next episode. Peace out.